Hello friends, this is Austin with Wheeled Supply Company, and I'm coming to you with a video about a couple mods I'm working on. One I've completed and one I'm working on for this third gen 4Runner. It's an 01 Toyota 4Runner. It's the SR5 Sport Edition, and a couple mods to make it a little bit more overland friendly. The first one is a latch you can install to open the liftgate from the inside. That's something that they added to later generations, but you can do it on your third gen with just, actually it's pretty simple. It's really just some cable. You do have to drill a hole in your panel there, your liftgate panel, and you do have to sacrifice one of the panel clips, but everything else, it holds together just fine, and you will be able to access the liftgate latch from the inside, even if the door is locked, and you preserve the ability of the window to roll down, the back window, which is pretty cool. Second is this sleeping platform I'm working on. I've just got the frame in. I haven't installed the decking yet, but I'm working on a sleeping platform for the back. A little kind of a funny story about this 4Runner. When I bought it a couple months ago, I purchased it and was driving away with it. My wife was in her 5th gen 4Runner ahead of me, and she pulls over real quick and she says, "Wait a minute, are there back seats?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" Of course, and I jumped out, and no, there are no back seats. They have been removed. And when I bought it, it was kind of a little bit of an impulse buy. It was a really good price, and everything else checked out, and I just didn't even think. There was a bunch of stuff in the back. I didn't even think to check to see if the back seats were still there, but I bought the thing without any back seats, and I said, that's okay. I'm gonna install a sleeping platform there anyway. So a little bit different setup than other sleeping platforms. I've seen quite a few online. People have done there's some great designs out there. So if you want to maintain the back seats, there's tons of designs. But if you're interested in doing this design, I'm going to show you how I have it sort of laid out. It's not complete yet, but I'm going to show you where it's going. And what this will do is actually give you some storage up here where the seats would go. So let me just try to show you here. This area here, it's got about, I'd say about 8 to 10 inches of depth. And then this area, it's got almost 12 inches of depth. And so the plan will be actually to install lift up panels here, so the sleeping decking will go across, and they'll just lift up to reveal these storage compartments, and that will be on both sides there. And then out the back, I'm going to have some drawers that pull full extension. It's about 42 inches full extension, and they'll pull out to form a bit of a prep station, a little bit of a camp table. It'll be a flat surface with some storage underneath. So if you want to sacrifice the back seats in your third gen and you want a pretty solid overlanding setup, you can get rid of those back seats and you gain a lot of storage underneath the sleep platform there. So that's what I'm kind of working on there. Now let me take apart, let me show you how I've built this latch. I'm gonna pull everything apart, and then I'll show you what I've designed so that you can have this pull latch. Will open your back liftgate from the inside. If it's locked or unlocked, it's actually connected directly to the mechanism which pulls the latch regardless of being locked or not. And like I said, it maintains the functionality of the rear window, which was crucial for me. I could have come straight up. I've seen some designs where people will actually put a wire straight up from the bottom up here, but the way the window and all the mechanisms are designed, you won't have any access. Your window won't work anymore if you do it that way. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me take everything apart, and then I will show you what I have done. So before you can go to prying on this panel, you actually have to remove this pull handle here. It's real simple. This just pops out right here. You can do that with your pry tool or a flathead or whatever. It just pops out like that, and then that is a 10 mil bolt there. So 10 mil socket and wrench will take care of that. Okay, now you can see that I have just pulled those clips free from their securing holes there, and it's just connected right here. So what I'm going to be doing is moving this whole panel this way, and it'll release and then come down. Now, I did want to mention that that these clips can be, if you haven't released this in a while, these clips can be pretty tough. If you'll just be patient with it, don't pry too hard, because you will break them. They will snap, and they are hard to find. It's hard to just pick them up at AutoZone, but if you'll just kind of start here at the corner, I found that that's kind of be the most effective, to start here on this corner and then just kind of work along the bottom. There's one here, there's one on the corner, there is one up here, and then all the way along the bottom, and then you can see where they are. There are none at the top, so don't go trying to pry up at the top. Start at the bottom. That is the best way to get that off. So now I'm just going to pull this forward and drop it down. You may see me lifting and lowering the gate. Sometimes it is easiest to have it at a slightly lowered angle just to access everything. But just be patient, work with it. It will come apart. Just like that. All right, now you're going to see these are 10 mil bolts all the way around here. And you're going to be removing all of them on this. Back up and show you that panel, that larger panel that is on towards the driver's side. That's the panel that you want to remove to install your pull latch. If you need to work on the window, sometimes you get problems with the window dropping down, sagging on one side. You can pull this panel off also to access those mechanisms, those components. So you can pull that off. But for this project, we only need to pull off this panel here. So that's what I'm going to do now, is just remove all of these 10 millimeter bolts. All right, so once you get those bolts removed, you can let this hang here. These wires are plenty strong. You can just let that panel hang there. And once you got those removed, you're going to be able to see everything inside this lift gate. Now all of this is for the window. What you want to be concerned with is this section over here. Now I have removed this plastic cover, and it actually, if you're pulling yours off for the first time, there's probably a plastic cover right here. If you have access, if you can get to this mechanism without pulling that plastic cover off, then there's no need to pull it off. But I just needed to pull it off to get it out of the way, and I will show you how I did that here in a minute. But basically, let me show you what I've devised here. All this is wire for a clothesline. It's clothesline wire. You can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's, and it simply runs connected to here, which this, when pulled, let me show you, when it pulls the latch that opens the tailgate. And so I've just run this wire back here, back behind all of these components, and then even back behind that mechanism, that latching mechanism itself. You want to run everything behind, because when that window comes down, that glass pane is going to come on this side, the car side of the liftgate. And so that wire needs to actually run underneath it. It needs to cross underneath, and I have it crossing right there. If you can see, it crosses underneath that the floor of that liftgate, and then runs out of one of those holes. Now, that hole is a hole that one of these clips would secure into. So you will be losing that clip because you're using that hole to run your wire through. Like I said, everything is plenty secure. Now what I've also done, and this has actually been pushed out, I need to re-secure it and work on it. But what I've also done is I have used a little piece of poly tubing. This is just a little cut of poly tubing. I believe it was 1/4 inch inner diameter and oh goodness, probably 3/8 outer. So I believe it was 3/8 outer diameter and 1/4 inch inner diameter tubing. And if you take a drill bit, just a standard bit, you can wallow this hole out just enough. It's not quite, so this is an old one that hasn't been wallowed out yet. You can wallow out that hole just enough to insert this plastic tubing. But if you wallow it out just enough, it will fit right in there. And then your wire, you can feed through that tubing. And I'm gonna have to put my camera down here so I can do this, but that wire will feed through that plastic tubing, and it'll actually ease the friction that wire is rubbing against. Otherwise, it's gonna be rubbing against that hard metal edge. But this plastic tubing gives it just enough radius so that when you pull that latch, it gently redirects the force at the angle towards this mechanism. And so that's what I've done there. Now, let me show you how I've connected this here. This is simply this is temporary. I mean, I'll probably have to replace it at some point, but it's working for me right now. I have got 2 little zip ties connected to a zip tie loop that I've formed, and then I've run my cable through that zip tie loop, doubled it over, and then I've got 3 zip ties securing it. Now, it's a little bit crazy with the zip ties, and they will become brittle eventually. I mean, it's only a matter of time. Those zip ties will wear out, and I'll just have to get in there and replace it. But the thing is, it's so easy access that when that happens, it won't be that much of a chore. Now, hopefully it doesn't happen while I'm out camping, but we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, so I've got zip ties securing it there, and then you probably saw at the beginning, I had looped this over. I had to clip it to get everything over, but I had looped this over, zip tied it, and then I actually had some heat shrink wrap that I went over the zip ties to add a little bit of security there. So this plastic cover sits over that locking mechanism. I pulled this off because I actually needed to fix the mechanism itself. It is possible to install that cable without pulling this off, but if you do need to pull this off, there is one brass screw, and it's kind of hard to see, but with a flashlight or a headlight, you can usually see it. And the way they've designed it, it's really hard to get to. I don't know if you need a special Toyota tool to get to it. I had to make my own. So what I've done is I've taken some needle nose vice grips, and then I have attached a Phillips head screwdriver in from a multi-screwdriver, and you can fit that in just enough, and then you can seat it and then slightly turn it just a little bit at a time, just enough to get that screw loose, and then you can take that Phillips head out of the vice grips, and then you can use your fingers. You can slip your hand up there, and you can basically just with your thumb and index finger, you can turn it just enough, slowly but surely that screw will loosen, and then you can pull that off. I've decided to leave it off because at this point, I'm gonna be having to do more repairs to that mechanism. In fact, I know I will, so I don't wanna have to be pulling it off on and off all the time. I've decided to leave it off. Like I said, you can install your cable latch system without pulling that off, but if you do need to, that's how it's done. Okay, so now you can see I have installed my cable through my plastic tubing, through this clip retaining hole, and this is gonna run all the way through here. Now what I need to do is I actually have discovered that I need to drill this out a little bit, because what I was doing is when I was installing my panel back, it was pushing that tube back into the liftgate, making it kind of useless. So what I'm going to do is just take a drill bit and just wallow this out until that tubing can fit right into that, and actually hold it in place would be ideal. And then that cable just runs right through that hole. I've just drilled that hole right through the back of that, just big enough for that cable to pass through. And then once that's installed, I can reinstall my loop, and then we'll have everything put together. So what I'm going to do now is work on this, and then I'm going to bolt everything back together, and we'll be done. Okay, so now that I have rebolted all of these 10 mil bolts back in, and I have just I've got this back panel just resting here. You kind of have to tap it into place and then it'll stay put. So what I need to do now is I need to feed this tubing into this what used to be a clip holder. I wallowed this out a little bit with my 3/8 drill bit so that that outer diameter 3/8 tubing will fit right in there. What I do first is just run this through that hole that I've drilled. Then I'm going to line this up the best I can so that, and I may have to kind of work on the sides first. Pop that in. Pop that corner in. All right, so I'm gonna put the camera down and I'm gonna work on feeding that plastic tubing into that clip retainer. All right, so I've got that piece of poly tubing fed through the clip retaining plastic there on the back of the trim. And then all I've done is, you'll see actually I have lowered the window so that I would pull all of the slack out of this cable. And then I've just looped it over. And then underneath this heat shrink is just 3 zip ties. Just zip tied together, and then I use a little heat shrink wrap to add some extra security. Probably not absolutely necessary, but doesn't hurt to add it. It can always just be cut off if I ever need to get in there and make any repairs. So that is how that all comes together. And you can see how that window functions properly. The latch opens the liftgate from the inside, and we've got ourselves a little bit of an overlanding rig here. I hope this video was enjoyable. Hopefully it was helpful to you. If you've enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, ring the bell. It helps us. Stay tuned because I want to show you how this sleeping platform comes together. I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to take this out and do some camping, do some overlanding in it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until we see each other again, to the woods.